YouTube friends and family, to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. I am upright. It is Sunday here. You'll be seeing this on Tuesday. Thank you all so much for your kind words, your thoughts, your prayers. I am definitely feeling better. No more messing with the anti-inflammatory, right? Let me hitch up my britches because you guys are just gonna have to get used to that until I really not a size down from what I'm wearing. So yeah, you're gonna just have to deal with that until I lose some more weight, which I haven't been doing very well with because I haven't been able to move very much. But anyway, what are we going to do today? Well, y'all, I decided I have to cook anyway, so maybe I'll bring you along. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, I've been trying to make healthier versions with less additives, preservatives, junk in it. And one of my go-tos is I do like a Wendy's hamburger. Now, let me just share with you, we're not going to be making a meat burger. We're going to be making a meatless burger, which I made like a couple years ago, but guys, these are fabulous, fabulous. And I'll share why as we go along in the video. So step one, I need to make some buns. So bread Beckers, which I've shared before. They have this little booklet, Healthy Foods Your Family Will Enjoy. And their philosophy when this was written is that you just need a basic bread dough and you can turn it into a lot of different things like dinner rolls, hot dog buns, sandwich rolls, whatever you call it, like sub rolls. Words are hard in the morning. So I'm gonna make some hamburger buns. And one of the things I like about bread Beckers is this book particularly talks about how to make it in your Cedarville automatic bread machine. Now, if you're going to make this like by hand, you certainly can. You would just do the 2 rises. This particular bread machine has what's called a dough cycle. So it will just do the rises for you. Then it will beep when it's finished. It takes about 2 hours, 40 minutes for it to go through the dough cycle. So I have set it to dough, but let's get into the ingredients because they're quite interesting. So the first thing we're going to need is the bread pan. I probably shouldn't film so early in the morning, but I get tired as the day goes on, and I've already done a full day's work and it's only 5:30. But this will give me, I eat my big meal midday, so this will have everything be ready. So the first thing you're gonna need is 1.5 cups of water. Now, if you are doing this in the mixer, you want it to be warm. The Cedarville preheats the water, so I don't have to do that. The next ingredient is 1/3 cup of oil. And I like to use the organic avocado oil from Azure. Okay, can I bend over? Yeah, I guess I can. Yesterday I dropped the cat. He's like, Mom, what is wrong with you? Oh, goodness. Yeah. Because sometimes when I want him to get off the counter, he won't. So, yeah, there was that whole escapade. I didn't hurt him. Cats always land on their feet. So, already, y'all, even just with the water, I did use my reverse osmosis, chlorine-free water. So we have good clean water and we have a healthy fat oil. So we're not using a highly processed oil like canola or a heavily GMO oil like corn oil. Okay, next is 1/3 cup of honey. Okay, there we go. I don't care how careful I am with the honey. Okay, the lid is always sticky. Okay, there we go. You know, let me use a little spray on that cup. I think that will make a better product. In other words, it'll come out easier. So what did I say? 1/3 cup of honey. So, no sugar, no high fructose corn syrup. That's why it's always sticky. Oh. You know, y'all, I have this little saying to wash that if I have to bend over, I'm going to see what else I can do when I'm down there. But how many of you've noticed that have back problems? Because I think about half of us on the channel have back problems. You drop everything. Okay, so there's our third cup of honey. And it calls for an egg, which is optional. I'm going to add it because it's going to up the protein content. Thank you, Miss Violet. Guys, I got 4 eggs yesterday. I'm like, who are you, chickens? Because they have not been earning their keep so much. I'll beat this up just a little bit. The yolks are still pretty yellow because they do free range or orangish, but guys, there's not much for them to free range right now. Okay. So when you use a bread machine, you know, all your liquid go in the bottom. Now, this says, I'm going to hiccup, guys. Sorry. 4 to 4.5 cups of freshly milled flour. It does not say, do you use soft white? Do you use hard red? I'm going to use a combo. So I have, this is probably about 1.5 cups of soft white leftover. So I'm going to grind up a little bit of hard red and some more soft white and just mix it together really well. This has been refrigerated, so it should be fine. So that's going to be our next ingredient. So let me get this milled up. I've got my 5-gallon buckets over here of my whole grains. And so what's the benefit of that? Why would I do that? Why don't I just use bread flour? Because trust me, I thought about it. I'm trying to maximize the nutrition and the health benefits from the foods that I eat until the garden is ready and I can eat a little fresher. So the germ and the, oh my gosh, hold on. See, I told you words were hard. The germ and the bran. So this is going to be a little bit, well, definitely going to be more nutritious, and it's not going to be bleached and all of those things. So let me get going here. We have our flour ground here. Before I put the flour in, just to keep the salt away from the yeast, it calls for 2 teaspoons of salt, and I am going to use Redmond with the added minerals. I mean, why not? Okay. Now, it does call for 2 tablespoons of lecithin. Lecithin is an essential nutrient. It has calcium, potassium, phosphorus, and iron in it. It is supposed to improve the texture of your bread. I do use it when it calls for it. So let's measure accurately. And there is also soy lecithin. I do sunflower. All right. Now, a teaspoon of gluten, which is optional. I think it makes a better bread product, especially since I'm kind of unsure on my flour combo. I ended up grinding half soft white and half hard red. We'll see how it is. It smells amazing, but the proof is in the buns. Okay. And then the last thing before we add our flour is some organic flaxseed meal. This is the ultra fine powder. It is optional and it calls for half a cup. That's why I wanted to do the egg, because I'm figuring these optional ingredients will make for a thicker dough. Whoops, okay, a little for the counter. All right. Now we can put our flour in, and then last we'll get our yeast out of the freezer. So whenever you do freshly ground flour, I can already tell you, it takes a lot more just because it's fluffier. So there's 1 cup. And you want to spoon it into your cup, not scoop your cup into the flour for the most accurate measurements. 2 cups. Cups. Almost there, guys. 4. And you know, I'm gonna do 4 1/4 for good measure. So between the 4 and the 4 1/2. Okay, now our final ingredient is a tablespoon of yeast. So let me grab that out of the freezer. And what I like to do is make a little divot in the center to put the yeast, and there we have it. So, before I knock this off, into the bread machine we go. If you happen to have a Zoji Rushi, it is number 11. And I had pre-programmed mine, so we're gonna let this go. I will bring you back much later, and we'll get to shaping our dough for the hamburger buns, and then also making our meatless burgers, healthy burgers. Stay tuned. All right, I did have to knead a little flour in to my dough. It was just a touch sticky, not horrid, but too sticky to make buns. Let me tip you down here. Just make sure this is all well incorporated, which it appears to be. And what I did was I weighed my bread. I'm going to attempt to come up with a little bit more even buns. See how we do here. So about 3.5 ounces per bun. Okay, this is too fussy. This is why I eyeball everything. Okay, that's good. So let me section these off, and then I will show you how I plan to shape them. And I'm going to actually put them into the oven because my oven has a bread proofing feature. And I'm going to let them rise just a little bit since I had to put a little bit more flour in. I don't know if my recipe is going to be a success or a failure, but it'll be healthy. May not taste good. No, I shouldn't say that. It smells amazing, y'all. It really does. All right, let me finish bunning these. I ended up with 11, and to me, they look like they need to rise. I've put a piece of Glad press and seal over top. The proofing temperature in my oven is only 95. It won't melt. So I am going to stick these into proof and see if they will raise some more, or we'll have some really dense hamburger buns. Our hamburger buns have risen, guys. I'm kind of impressed. Are they the prettiest buns you've ever seen? Why, no, they are not. And some are kind of small, and I thought I weighed them better, but that's okay. So what I've done here, since my girly girls are laying, I am going to put an egg wash on each bun to help with the browning. I've got my oven preheating to 400, and it says 10 to 12 minutes. I don't know. We're going to find out. Now, thinking about recreating a healthy version of, let's start first with the hamburger buns. You know, if I'm thinking Wendy's or even McDonald's or whatever your favorite ultra processed fast food burger is, I was thinking, you know, maybe I should put an egg wash, put some white sesame seeds on it because I have that. And how is this better? So I took a minute and I just looked up the ingredients on Walmart's Great Value Buns, also known in this household as school buns. That's what my son came up with. And of course it has the enriched flour, so highly processed with the bran, etc., and the germ removed. It has soybean oil. I happen to have an intolerance to soybean, and I also just believe it's a lot better to use avocado or olive. It's just my personal preference. So let's see if we can get some sesame seeds to stick. Oh, yeah, that's gonna work. Oh, okay. Well, that might be a few many, but I like sesame seeds. It has sugar in it, and these have honey, which in the diabetes world is a little better. I could have substituted like an agave or something like that, just not my preference. So this is what our buns look like. Just waiting on the oven. Takes forever to make a meal like this, guys. I totally understand, not only from the standpoint of the amount of ingredients, but also just the time that it takes. It takes a lot of time to do this. And do I cook this way every day, you ask? I got my lid stuck in the vacuum sealer. No. No, I do not. And that's another reason I kind of like to make extra so I can freeze it or have some freezer meals so that I'm not spending hours and hours and hours in the kitchen. Now, once it gets to be warmer outside, I have a lot of options. I can cook in the sun oven. I can cook on my outdoor kitchen while I'm doing other things. So it's a little bit easier in the summer. All right, I'm going to re-vacuum seal these. We've still got, we're only up to 250, so we've got a few minutes on our oven heating. I'll bring you back when they come out. And then in a little bit, we are going to actually make our meatless Wendy's knockoff hamburger that I think is going to be really delicious. So I hope you'll stay tuned. I wish YouTube had smell-o-vision. Look at these beauties. They really came out nice. They seem to be light. It took me about 15 minutes. And yeah, a couple of them I didn't get rolled tightly here, but they'll eat just the same. So let's let these cool off. And then shortly, we're going to get busy making our meatless burgers. All right, let's get started making these mock Wendy's burgers that are meatless, right? So I actually want to give a shout out, I'm not sure if she's still watching, to Tamra. Tamra had actually dropped a message to me that her aunt was the cook at the hospital cafeteria where I went to nursing school. And so she shared this recipe, and these are called double bean spinach burgers. And y'all, let me tell you, they are really good. Let me just turn off the camera by accident. So what it calls for is a can of black beans and a can of white beans. So I don't have any cannellini beans. Pardon me, hiccups. Home canned, so I did have to buy these. These are great value. I wish I would have gotten something organic because it has calcium chloride to firm up the beans, disodium EDTA to promote color retention. I could do without those, right? So the first thing we're gonna do is take about half of the can of those cannellini beans and we're gonna mash them. Might be easier to do this with like a tater masher, but I just grabbed a fork. So this is, oh, and you're supposed to drain and rinse them, which I did. this is kind of what helps your burger not to fall apart. I have made these where I didn't mash half the beans, and they do have a tendency to fall apart a little bit more. And you know, who wants a loose burger? Not me. All right, now I am going to use my home canned ranch black beans. So these are spicy, delicious, one of my absolute favorites, and adds a lot of flavor to this, but you could just use plain old canned black beans or soak them overnight and just use fresh, either way. These beans are hard to mash with this fork. Should have used a tater masher. So you're gonna have, you know, kind of something like this. And then we're just gonna add the rest of the beans. I'm trying not to get too much liquid. That also makes them very loose. Okay. And the rest of the black beans. Sorry about the clanging, guys. I never realized why that annoyed people so much. Let me do it again. Could I do it one more time? I guess when people watch with headphones, it really hurts their ears, so my apologies, certainly not intentional. Now over here, for sake of time, 1/4 cup of onion, a little tiny bit of olive oil, a little tiny bit of butter, 2 cups of spinach. And you want to cook that, you know, till your onions are translucent, then add your spinach and it wilts down 3 to 5 minutes. And we're just going to use this same skillet to actually cook the burgers. So let me set that aside. All right, our next ingredient, 2 tablespoons. It says red pepper. I don't have red pepper. I have some frozen green. So we're just gonna add that. And guys, I'm telling you, it really adds a really good flavor. I've made it with, I've made it without. So let's just give that a mix. I still haven't played with my camera attachment thingy-mabobba. This is pretty loose. I am gonna add just a little bit of garlic powder. It actually calls for Montreal steak seasoning. That's not something that I use. But you could certainly add it. It calls for a teaspoon. And then I'm going to add maybe a teaspoon of salt. Next is, oh, I guess I used that egg. I'm playing all loose with the eggs since I now have some. I never did run completely out, but boy, I was close. So this is probably, I think this is a Fancy Ray or a Jolene egg. I can't tell the girls apart with the exception of the 2 barred rocks. I'm just going to give that a little whip. And a stir. Now, it does call for feta cheese. I don't have that. I don't like that. And 2/3 cup of breadcrumbs. So I had these in the freezer. These are from my homemade bread. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to put as many breadcrumbs. I think it's going to take a little bit more so that they're not too loose. So this is about a cup. We're going to start here. Those buns have made the whole house smell absolutely amazing, just saying. And if you like the feta cheese, it calls for 1/2 cup. I have some Italian style. I'm gonna need just a little more. It was a little bit more liquid using the ranch black beans. So that's about, I get an egg on that. 1/4 cup more, maybe a 1/3 cup. Yeah, that's gonna tighten it up quite a bit. It does make a lot too. Pardon me, and they freeze well. Y'all, I don't know what to do about these hiccups. I'm so aggravated with hiccuping all the time. It's embarrassing, it makes an awful noise sometimes. So I am going to use this pre-shredded cheese, which I forget why I bought it, to make some kind of a dish. Okay, so that was a scant half cup, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to add just a little bit more breadcrumbs. So I should have probably drained the beans in a colander, but it'll come out fine. So this is kind of where we are. It does make a note in the recipe that these are sticky, and so about another quarter cup of breadcrumbs. You can wet your hands, just don't get a lot of water into the burger, obviously, or it's gonna be quite loose. Okay, now we're cooking. Smells so good. All right, guys, let me wash my hands. I'm gonna take you over to the stove. We're gonna heat up a little olive oil, and we'll start frying up our meatless burgers made healthy in lieu of eating fast food. Here we go. I did add the rest of those breadcrumbs, so drain your beans better than what I did. So I'm gonna try to make this look like a square Wendy's burger. So we'll see how well I do. I was talking to my son this morning, and he's like, have you already made the burgers, Mom? And I'm like, well, no, not yet. And he was like, well, you must make them square. So I have just a little olive oil in the pan. You don't want to overcrowd your pan either. So I'm probably going to cook these like 2 at a time. And pretty good size. About 4 to 5 minutes on each side until they're crispy and, you know, firm up enough so that you can turn them. I'll get square here. You know, it's kind of counterintuitive to make a square burger. Keep wanting to do it round, but here we go. All right, let me wash up my hands while these are cooking. I will bring you back for a final taste test and show you what they look like. Y'all, I'm excited. So how's this look for a somewhat square Wendy-ish burger? Buns are beautiful crumb. I am very impressed. I was a little worried about them. So this is what it looks like with the lid on. We are actually eating on a real plate, not my usual fine china. So let me do a taste test here, all right? You ready? You know, even if you're not a fan of vegetarian burgers, you gotta try this. Soy-free. The peppers and onions were from my garden. So delicious, so good. And the bun is really good. I think the half and half mixture of the hard red and soft white was the way to go. I wanted my bun to have a little bit of structure and not just be fluff. So, drop me a comment below. Are you going to try this in lieu of having ultra-processed food from fast food restaurant? Now and again, isn't going to kill us, but I am looking for some alternatives, and when I find things that work well, I want to share them with you. If you would do me a big favor, go ahead and smash that like button. I plan to see you all on Thursday, Lord willing. So until then, you know what to do. Be healthy, be well, be blessed, and take care.